truths ever documented about human nature. So dangerous, in fact, the Catholic Church banned his book. So real that every modern world leader studies it in private while publicly pretending it's unethical. But this isn't theory. This is the operating manual for how people actually work. Not how we wish they worked, not how they say they work, but how they truly function behind the mask. You didn't learn this because society programmed you not to. We've been conditioned to believe that understanding power makes you evil, that strategic thinking is manipulative, and that seeing reality clearly makes you cynical. But ignorance isn't a virtue, it's a liability. And I'm going to make you cynical, powerful, and unshakable. Because when you see the truth, you become dangerous in the best possible way. Here's the first truth. People are not rational, they're emotional. The myth that humans logically seek what's best for them is one of the biggest lies ever told. People avoid pain. They chase comfort. That's the real algorithm. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. For all can see, few can feel." In other words, people decide based on appearance, not substance. And you see it every day. Your friend who asks for advice but ignores it because it's hard. Your co-worker who complains about being broke but buys Starbucks every morning. The woman who says she wants a kind man but always ends up with the one who treats her like an option. People aren't seeking truth. They're seeking emotional validation. So here's what that means for you. Logic doesn't win people. Emotions do. Don't try to argue someone into seeing things your way. Show them something that makes them feel better about themselves. That's influence. That's persuasion. You want to lead people? Don't tell them what's right. Make them feel like choosing your side is who they want to be. Most men waste their breath using facts in arguments. Alpha males? They understand that emotion is the language of influence. The man who can make others feel what he wants them to feel will always control the room, no matter who has the facts. That's the first shift. Stop playing chess with facts and start playing with emotional resonance. And yes, it sounds manipulative to those who still live in the fairy tale of fairness. But this isn't about manipulation. It's about effectiveness. Now let's talk about loyalty. You were probably raised to believe loyalty is sacred. Loyalty to your friends, loyalty to your company, loyalty to your woman. That it's a sign of honor. But here's what Machiavelli taught. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose, it is far safer to be feared than loved. See, I know that line hits hard because it exposes the truth. Blind loyalty is not strength. It's naivety. And naivety is weakness waiting to be exploited. That friend who only calls when he needs something? That company who tells you you're family until the next layoff? That woman who keeps you on standby while exploring other options? None of that is loyalty. That's one-sided usage, and continuing to offer your loyalty without reciprocity isn't noble. It's foolish. Real men understand this. Loyalty is not a default setting. It's a reward for consistent respect and value exchange. Be generous with your loyalty, but the moment it becomes unreciprocated, withdraw it without hesitation. Because a man who gives and gives with no return isn't a hero. He's a stepping stone. And you were not born to be stepped on. Inspire loyalty by being valuable and principled, not needy and compliant. Let people feel the cost of losing you. Let them see that your presence isn't owed, it's earned. The most successful men you know are not blindly loyal. They're selectively loyal. And that's not heartless. That's intelligent. It's not about betraying others. It's about refusing to betray yourself. Now think about your reputation. What were you taught? Probably that being liked is important. That people should think you're nice. That you should avoid conflict and be agreeable. But Machiavelli knew better. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Reputation isn't about being liked. It's about being respected. And respect has very little to do with being nice. There's this modern lie that authenticity means revealing everything, that if people just saw the real you, they'd understand. But that's not power. That's exposure. Strategic authenticity is what matters. You choose what people see. You manage perception, not by being fake, but by being intentional. Because in human interaction, perception is reality. Want to be seen as competent? Stop complaining about problems, present solutions. Want to be seen as valuable? Don't always be available. Scarcity builds demand. Want to be seen as powerful? Stop explaining yourself to people who have no impact on your path. Mystery, consistency, and limited vulnerability. That's the formula. That's how legends are made. Men with controlled personas are magnetic because people can't quite figure them out, and that tension creates gravity. You were probably also taught to avoid conflict. Be peaceful. Get along. Don't make waves. But that kind of mindset is a setup for defeat. Machiavelli said it clearly. War cannot be avoided. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Conflict isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the man who's unprepared is already losing. Life is not neutral. Someone is always trying to replace you, outdo you, or exploit your hesitation. In business, someone wants your position. In relationships, someone wants her attention. In social dynamics, someone is pushing to see how far they can go. Don't walk around looking for a fight, but never be surprised when one finds you. Be the man who has trained in peace for war. That's the man no one wants to test. That's the man people instinctively respect, even if they don't understand why. The man who's quietly prepared is often the one who never has to prove it. Stay ready. Build your value when no one's watching. Develop your skills when there's no competition. Save money when you're rich. Get stronger when life is easy. Be a lion with the mind of a fox. The lion protects himself with force. The fox protects himself with cunning. One sees traps. One scares wolves. You must be both. That's how you stop being prey and start becoming a presence. But here's the lie most men are still chained to. Just be nice, and people will like you. That's what they were told growing up. Be agreeable. Be helpful. Don't rock the boat. And maybe, just maybe, someone will appreciate you for it. But here's the truth Machiavelli understood, and it will sting. Being nice and being good are not the same. One seeks approval, the other seeks truth. Nice is easy, nice is passive, nice is about avoiding discomfort. It's saying yes when you should say no. It's silence when there should be confrontation. It's pleasing others at the cost of your own standards. But goodness? Goodness is about doing what's right, even when it's hard, even when it's unpopular, even when it means standing alone. You want to know why women say they want a nice guy, but consistently end up with the one who challenges them, ignores them, sometimes even disrespects them. It's because in their biology, they confuse niceness with weakness. They mistake agreeableness for security. And deep down, they crave strength, not submission. A nice guy will bend over backwards to avoid conflict. He'll walk on eggshells, hoping to be liked. A good man? He'll speak uncomfortable truths. He'll hold boundaries. He'll risk being misunderstood because his principles matter more than being liked. And here's the punchline. People don't respect those who seek approval. They respect those who command it without begging. Look at every truly powerful man in history. CEOs, presidents, warriors, champions. Were they nice? Not in the way most define it. They weren't doormats. They weren't pushovers. But they weren't cruel either. They were fair, firm, focused. They didn't tolerate nonsense. and they didn't fear rejection. They lived by their code, not public opinion. And that's why they were followed. You can be kind without being nice. You can be compassionate without being weak. There is immense strength in stillness, in calm dominance, in saying less and meaning more. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." What does that mean? That most people are driven by what's in front of them. They don't see the patterns. They don't question motives. They obey impulses. They become easy prey for those who do understand. But not you, because now you see the hidden language behind the words. You see behavior, not declarations. Patterns, not promises. That girl who says she values honesty but hides her phone. That boss who praises you but never promotes you. That friend who's loyal until you say no. People reveal themselves in action, not intention. Most just don't want to accept it. And here's where the shift happens. Once you truly start observing reality as it is, not as you wish it were, you gain power. Not the loud, boastful kind, but quiet, strategic power. The kind that doesn't need validation because it moves with certainty. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop asking and start deciding. From here on out, you operate by a new code. One that doesn't rely on societal approval or outdated chivalry. One that understands that perception is a weapon, loyalty is conditional, emotions drive behavior, and conflict is inevitable. And now, you are armed. This knowledge doesn't make you cruel. It makes you prepared. It makes you deliberate. And most importantly, it makes you a man who sees what others are too afraid to look at. There's a reason the masses are taught fairy tales and niceties, because predictable men are easy to control. They conform. They obey. They apologize for their masculinity. They neuter their ambition in the name of acceptance, and they never realize they're living in chains. But a man who thinks strategically, who sees clearly, that man is a threat to any system built on obedience. That's why Machiavelli was feared. That's why his book was banned, because it didn't just teach power, it exposed the illusion used to control people. So you want to be respected? Learn how to say no without guilt. Want to be valuable? Stop offering yourself for free. Want to be desired? Be rare. Want to be remembered? Speak less, move precisely, and never beg for attention. The greatest weapon you will ever possess is self-control. Not money, not charm, not brute force, but the ability to govern your own impulses in a world addicted to indulgence. While others react, you respond. While others chase, you attract. While others obey, you choose. You see, most people live reactively. They're emotional pinballs, bouncing from stimulus to stimulus. They react to drama. They overshare. They panic. They crave immediate comfort. That's why they're so easy to read, to manipulate, to predict. But not you. Because when you master yourself, you become unreadable, and in a world addicted to attention and validation, mystery is power. There's a reason powerful men don't overshare. There's a reason they don't post every thought, every move, every feeling, because control over your words is control over your image. And your image is the doorway to your influence. Speak when it's valuable. Act when it's necessary. Reveal only what enhances your position. This doesn't mean being cold. It means being calculated. Strategic. It means thinking in terms of outcomes instead of emotions. Every move becomes a chess piece, not a dice roll. Every conversation, an opportunity to position yourself with clarity and strength. This is not manipulation, it's mastery. The world is already playing this game. Most just don't know it. They're being played. They're following scripts written by marketers, algorithms, and inherited beliefs. And all the while, they wonder why life feels rigged. Because it is. But you don't have to be a pawn. You don't have to keep living with a blindfold. Once you recognize the patterns, how people think, what they respond to, what drives their decisions, you begin to write your own rules. You move from passive to active, from controlled to in control. This transformation won't make you louder. It'll make you quieter, more focused, more precise. Because when you understand the true mechanics of power, you stop wasting time proving yourself to people who are never listening. You stop needing to win arguments. You stop needing to be liked. You simply are, solid, grounded, unmoved. And when that happens, people start reacting differently to you. They lean in when you speak. They hesitate before disrespecting you. They wonder what you're thinking. You no longer chase approval. You command respect, not through force, through presence, through energy, through reputation. And this reputation isn't something you beg for. It's something you shape. Through action, through consistency, through saying no more than you say yes. You become known not for what you say, but for how you move. And when people can't predict you, they start respecting you. There is no need to prove your worth when your aura speaks first. That's what Machiavelli knew. That's what every strategic mind has always known. Influence is not about shouting. It's about shaping perception. It's not about being loud. It's about being felt. You can't fake that. You earn it by living with discipline, clarity, and vision. By not reacting to every insult, not answering every challenge, not chasing every opportunity. You learn to wait, to watch, to move when it benefits you, and to walk away when it doesn't. Because in the end, the most powerful man in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to prove a damn thing. That kind of presence doesn't come from pretending to be something you're not. It comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to compromise that for anyone. When you're grounded in your identity, when your values are not up for negotiation, you become immovable. People feel that. They may not understand it consciously, but they recognize it. They respond to it. Because confidence is quiet and insecurity is loud. The world has enough men begging to be liked. Enough men softening their edges to be more acceptable. Enough men giving themselves away in exchange for temporary validation. What it lacks, what it desperately needs, is men who refuse to play that game. Men who are kind but not compliant. Men who are open but not vulnerable to manipulation. Men who see the battlefield for what it is and choose their battles with precision. And that's where it all comes full circle. You were told life is fair, that if you're good, you'll be rewarded, that if you work hard, people will notice, that if you love purely, you'll be loved back. But Machiavelli shattered those illusions centuries ago. Life doesn't reward goodness, it rewards strategy. The world doesn't follow justice, it follows power. And power isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's the quiet certainty of a man who knows his own value and will not let the world cheapen it. Power is choosing your standards and sticking to them, even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you. It's walking away from anything that doesn't serve your purpose. It's being comfortable alone, because you've learned that solitude is better than selling pieces of your soul just to be accepted. That's the kind of man who commands loyalty. Not the one who pleases everyone, but the one who lives in alignment, ruthlessly. And when you do that, something incredible happens. People respect you. They may not always agree with you. They may challenge you, but they'll never question whether you're serious. Because most men fold under pressure. Most men apologize for taking up space. Most men would rather be comfortable than respected. But not you, because you understand now that comfort is the enemy of greatness, that peace without strength is just the silence before the storm. You've seen now that the world isn't neutral, that there's always someone watching, evaluating, positioning. That human behavior is not random, it's patterned, emotional, strategic. And when you master yourself, you begin to master the game. You stop reacting to life, and you start moving with design. That's the key. Control over others begins with control over yourself. Because the truth is, everyone's playing a game, even the ones who pretend they're not. The ones who say, "I just want to be myself," are often the most controlled by others. The ones who claim they don't care about influence are usually the most desperate to fit in. But now, you don't have to pretend. Because you see. You understand. You're no longer playing checkers in a world built on chess. This doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you prepared. Strategic. Conscious. The kind of man who isn't moved by every temptation. Who isn't broken by every loss. Who isn't defined by public opinion. You've outgrown that. You no longer need to chase power. You've become it. Not in dominance, but in awareness. Not in control of others, but in control of yourself. That is what true masculinity looks like. Strength with direction. Vision with discipline. Fire with control. It's not about being feared in a cartoonish way. It's about being respected in a way that people feel in their bones. When you walk in a room, your presence shifts the energy, not because you demanded it, but because you've earned it. You speak less, but your words cut deeper. You don't ask for attention, but it finds you anyway. You're not loud, but you are unmistakably there. This is what they never told you. This is why so many men feel lost. They've been taught to suppress their power, to distrust their instincts, to feel ashamed for wanting control over their lives. But Machiavelli didn't write for the weak. He didn't write for the compliant. He wrote for the ones who dare to see, the ones who dare to question, the ones who dare to lead. And now you're one of them. You understand now that people are not rational. They are emotional. That loyalty without reciprocity is weakness. That reputation is your sharpest weapon. That war is not something you avoid. It's something you prepare for. That nice is not good, and good is not weak. You understand that strength and goodness are not opposites. They are brothers. That power is not evil. It's neutral. The way you use it defines you. You've been given a gift that most men will never receive. Clarity. Clarity about human nature. Clarity about yourself. Clarity about the game that's always being played beneath the surface. And with that clarity comes responsibility. Because now, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer act like you don't see what's happening. You can no longer live like a man asleep. You've woken up. And that means your choices carry more weight now. Your silence will say more. Your presence will affect more. Your decisions will influence more. That's the burden of knowledge, and also its power. Because from this moment forward, you'll never be invisible again. You'll never be passive again. You'll never be ignored again. They told you it was better to be loved, but you now understand. It is better to be feared if you cannot be both. Not fear through intimidation, but fear through consequence, through principle, through strength. The kind of fear that tells people, I'm not to be trifled with, I'm not to be manipulated, I'm not to be used. That kind of fear is respect, and respect is the currency of real influence. This is what separates the 1% from everyone else. Not money, not talent, not even intelligence, but strategic thinking, a deep, unshakable understanding of people, an ability to delay gratification, a ruthless clarity about what matters and what doesn't, a refusal to live life as a reaction. These are the patterns of power. You were never supposed to learn this, that's the truth. You were supposed to be predictable, supposed to be manageable, supposed to stay soft. But you didn't. You broke the script. You opened the forbidden book. You saw the warning, and read anyway. Now the door is open, and if this woke something in you, something ancient, something powerful, then don't stop here. Because this is just the beginning. There's a whole world underneath the surface where influence isn't talked about, it's wielded. Where words aren't thrown, they're calculated. Where approval isn't begged, it's earned through precision. I probably shouldn't have taught you this, but here we are. If you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to unlock the psychological frameworks that make people desperate to earn your approval, then keep going. But I'll warn you now, once you see it, there's no going back. The rabbit hole doesn't end where you think it does. It keeps going. And only those willing to become unshakable will survive the descent. But you were built for this.